Look, Kyle.
You suck, dude.
Gotta make sure I look good for the camera.
It was like so at peace, and then you just.
Merry Christmas. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm done.
What are you doing now?
Nothing. I literally just scrolled.
Are there any surprising names? Any good names?
I know.
Just lay out all the clickers.
If you want to,
yeah.
that would be great. That would be
So
so.
let's use their names.
Thanks.
Is
Thanks,
this the one who I saw in the airport? I get them all confused.
No, you said you saw Aaron.
Who was he taking?
Fun stuff.
Interesting. I know this girl.
Yeah. He'll be at Market.
Okay.
Is there a resurgence of?
What are you talking about?
Resurgence of?
Okay.
Shots.
You what?
You're gonna do so many shots.
Oh wow, that sounds fantastic.
Wait, what is this? She's back.
Is Eli is one like this?
What Friday Eli is going?
He's gonna be like, oh my god, I forgot. I forgot.
Oh. So it's
Time?
I forgot. I just.
Never mind. I'm gonna keep that to myself.
Hey, Jared, are you going with now?
She literally came up to me and she's like, Jared, I asked 5 guys already and they all said no. And she was lying, but I was just like,
That is so dramatic, Matt.
she was
Mallory is ridiculous. Oh my god.
She has the audacity to call me dramatic.
Oh, you didn't see mine?
Oh, thank you. Such a day.
It's all in the fam.
Our fam is just really dramatic.
Yeah, and Katie's like, you've made me a more dramatic person. And like, maybe you were just like dramatic. That's like the third person who's told me that. But I think that's just like your beginning. Let me know if you need me to do anything else.
oh my god, wait,
Uh,
can you hear me?
just
When to call.
no, I'm gonna call her tomorrow. We could talk to the station.
Okay.
I've also sent her. I'll let you know. Like if she needs me to come in, I might send you because this week is so funny. Eli, can I take that chair?
Oh my god.
Like friends.
This isn't okay. That's a whole committee. That
Go share that together.
Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take this one. It's our entire committee that won't be here. That's not an option. I don't know. That's just not an option. It's just not an option. I don't know what's happening.
Why are they betting them? I thought we were in
That's just not a thing. They can't just be candy. It's not a thing that they can do.
Why are they betting?
What's up, ladies? Yeah, you guys gotta come down here. You guys gotta come down in person. No, can you guys please just come and down?
Wait, why?
No, like, no, like, you need to come back.
Molly. Who is he keeping? David's wives, his entire committee, still in the
Because they're doing BAC.
and we need them because that's a 5th of 7.
But the actual candidate.
Wait, this is solution?
Like as of last year.
Oh, it's not like this.
It was kind of like all like local, but it was expensive.
Thank you, Eli.
3 semesters.
It's like, sorry, I see you can do at 7:20. Yeah. It's been 2 weeks since we met. And he's like, I realized you probably weren't like, he's fine. I'm not going to be here until 7:20. I was like, no. That's
Yeah, they probably would be like 5 minutes late, but.
Which is like, it's fine because it's
great fun.
This week is a well,
Super chill for me, but the next one's
I mean, my week before Thanksgiving, I have 3 major assignments all due on that.
on the front.
But as soon as I get through Thursday this week, I have smooth sailing until Friday. But I have a freaking business owner who is just the worst. She's in London this week, so her solution was assignment yesterday, a research paper due on Thursday. Right. Yeah. Life is good.
I made a mistake with my phone number. But I don't think that's an issue. But when he comes, he's the guy that does like the SOC and presents about I just told him, yeah.
I'll go first, and then you go in the gas. Alright, I can't wait. I think we have to dynamics do one thing. But also, that's probably the most important thing, but not at the forefront of my mind.
Apparently, it can't be seen from the live stream. Now make it look real full for the first time. Yeah, that's good.
There's 4 rows.
Like study, like yes.
I like sitting here.
Okay. Maybe I'll find for
That's what Jared was saying.
No,
I figured you take my option.
she texted me again and was like,
Did your mom get
she texted me again, she texted me a wiki face or something like that. She didn't do it to me, I texted her back. So,
your mom got
I figured I was
text her Search from
How did it feel when you got ghosted?
Tilda Mark.
You were just grinding it.
I can't believe
That's absurd.
Morgan's one. So I basically memorized how well, like, I didn't remember at first. I had done it over and over to the point where like, I hated stuff. And I sat there like, and then as soon as I did, I was like, I can follow it. The other one, I think I made it over. I didn't get the first one. And I think I really messed up like the other one.
Last time I was doing
Yeah, I was in the 140s too, and I feel like that's not that.
I meant to email you, but great. Maybe you do max and CLC. I mean, either that or we can do next week. We do have a presentation. We have like a report. I don't know if we have a presentation. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, you have two options. You can come up with CLC and I'll allow it. Is next week or last week? I don't want last week.
But I know I
did that for the first one. I know I did.
Ryan, here, now. Okay, so that's the report. You're on part of this. I completely forgot about this because you can say we can put it in the meeting next week, but I'm already guessing the next week's going to be more usually.
Okay, why am I a person?
Because it's the only time that I can come up is during CLC.
I guess I'll.
That looks good. I'll come up with you.
Alright.
I'm like, wait, am I going to come up? No, I have to. Do we have a report?
You can't actually
It's fine, because I've got a report. It's tall. It's tall. That happens every time I come back from work. Everyone's speaking taller. I'm like, nah, it's okay.
This is after the conference.
Like, you do the CLC thing, and I can be like, hey, Aaron. What?
Never loved.
I liked it. No, I liked it.
You were very.
Also, Greek life party. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Okay.
Wait, why did I do that? I'm not doing anything. Oh no, I didn't. Bless your kid.
Mine's gonna be. I'm gonna have everything speed. Okay.
You guys listen to the back row of the live stream, can't see you. The live stream can't see y'all if you sit in the back row. Yes, yeah, I totally will. Okay, cool. I'll text you. Everything's so great.
Yeah. Parliamentary procedure.
All right. Let's go ahead and get started. The regular weekly meeting of the Senate of the Student Government Association is now in session. Roll call. Is that it? Oh, wow. Do I see a motion to approve last week's minutes? Seconded? All in favor? Fantastic. Okay, Derek.
Hello everyone, so we are officially live streaming. I think we can thank Senator Mark Majori for that round of applause. I only have a couple of quick reminders. We are coming towards the end of the semester. You should have all gotten multiple emails about Haven +2. I know we all, well, if you're here, you did Haven 1 already. Do Haven +2, it's another requirement if you want to be a leader on campus, not just in Senate and like whatever leadership roles you might take. And even though the last one was kind of long, this one is only 10 minutes. So please get it done quickly. It is due by the end of the semester, and you will get probably more emails about it, but you will not be able to hold a leadership position on campus, not just in student government, in all of campus if you don't complete it. Other than that, I think, well actually Molly will talk about state of the association. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Did you have a, do you have something?
Not just a meeting, no, because we didn't have a meeting. Hi everyone. So we did not have a meeting this past Thursday, so I don't really have too much to report, but we are still accepting pre-semester applications for the semester, and we're going to have our first pre-semester meeting this coming Sunday. I also just wanted to let all of you know that Gospel Fest, which we saw at the beginning of this fall, I factored that into the accounting for this semester's allocations when it really should have been for next semester. So we actually have a lot more money this semester than I thought last week. So I was speaking to JJ about maybe the Senate potentially planning an event. I know Drew said he might be looking into bringing a speaker, but I just wanted to let all of you know, so full disclosure. But yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you know how much the BSC is allocated for next semester?
For next semester, no, because we haven't had a pre-semester meeting yet.
Okay. Do you know how much it was last semester?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can let you know.
Okay. Also, just who knows the SGA budget? Semesterly SGA budget. Do you know that?
Derek?
Yeah, so it's until this semester we have been trying to form a proper position because in the past there hasn't been a proper position for it. So it's kind of been a leadership effort until we get cemented into the Constitution a singular person for it.
He asked what the budget was, not.
Oh, who does the budget?
No, what the budget is for this semester for SGA.
What's the number? It's essentially zero because we still have to pay for.
We get allocated $19,000 if I'm reading our budget correctly.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Do you mean what's left or what we get?
We've spent $13,794 and we have $7,362 left. Also, we have a few other events that do that, so I don't know how accurate that number is right now.
Yeah.
Like State of the Association still needs to go into that, the New York Times, so that number is different, but somewhere less than 7,000.
New York Times is 5,000, and State of the Association is 600.
Thanks, Mom. So you have any other questions?
Thanks, Laura. All right, David.
Hey, so we're presenting our criteria for what we are considering new organizations to have to fulfill before they come in front of Senate. After we kind of present this, potentially we're going to try to do a bylaws bill in the coming week or two, probably a week because we only have 2 more weeks, and put that criteria in and let the advising departments know. So I'll explain the criteria when we get to that stage.
Thank you.
Okay, State of the Association is not this Thursday, next Thursday, the 7th, in the Hop at 7 o'clock. I will see all of your lovely faces there because you were required to be there. JJ was so lovely and helped set up a script and email all the speakers, so you should receive that. A kind reminder to show up 15 to 30 minutes early before the event, depending on like how you feel about speaking, honestly. It will be catered by Rig. Invite your friends. Also, I will be gone next semester, so next meeting, Senate meeting, you will be electing a new parliamentarian. So if you are interested in running, reach out to me. If you want to talk to me, text me, email me. Additionally, talk to the ECs, and you'll have to send in a ballot statement.
I'll touch on that. Is Nataki here? No. Okay. Any update? Or no. Okay. From me, is it my turn to talk? Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah. So next meeting is our last meeting. Sad face. But we are going to have parliamentarian elections. So the ECs will send an email to all of you saying if you want to run, you can submit a ballot statement, and then we'll have the elections as follows. Molly will then step down in the meeting, I believe, right? Yeah. So be prepared to take over that responsibility if you choose to run. And what did you need once 1 full year, 2 semesters on Senate State
I
Parliament?
believe it's 2 full semesters.
Yeah, but we'll double check that. Also next meeting, we're going to be confirming the new BAC members. So depending on if you want to grill them and ask them a lot of questions, that could take anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. So that's something we're doing. And we're also going to hear about the Middle States report. So those are all things you can expect next week and yeah, next meeting. And then State of the Association, as Molly touched on, it's going to be great, free rig, and it won't take too long, so you can all look forward to that. And that is all from me. Are there any questions? Oh, actually, I will add one more thing. I'm in talks with Drew and Dean McLaughlin, Drew Harris and Dean McLaughlin, about that forum that I was talking about social hosting. The target date for that is next Monday, and we have reserved the chapel for it, but there were some concerns about whether that space was too big, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll probably have to get back to you all over email about if we're gonna do that on this coming Monday. Yeah, are there any questions for me? Yeah.
Could we do it in a room that like people have to like people can make circles for people to talk? You know what I mean? I just feel like in the chapel, it feels a lot like a lecture. You know what I mean? Like a discussion.
Yeah. Well, the problem is you want it to be a room that's big enough to
like this room would be. How many people are we expecting?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if we plan to do and we do it in this room, and we have like a huge overflow, you obviously remember what happened last year with that, and having to like relocate to like 3 different rooms. I think we were looking into Love Auditorium, but that's booked. But yeah, Dean McLaughlin did share some of those similar concerns about doing it in the chapel. Right. So, and yeah, so we're still working on it. Do you have a space that you think would be?
What about like the hall of presidents?
Oh, that could be good.
I don't know.
What'd you say?
Circle up the hall.
Because I feel like when people like talk at each other's like heads, like it's a lot just goes
well, I mean, hall presence is an interesting idea. We would have to put in a work order, I think, to set it up.
If you want chairs, otherwise they can just sit.
What about
sit on the ground?
Like Ho 101?
Yeah, that's pretty similar to Love. So if we can't get Love, we would probably look into Ho 101. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Point of information, be my position 2 semesters on 7.
Okay. All right, let's move on to committee reports.
We're pretty much just wrapping up some of the projects that we did this semester. The registration survey we created, or the post-registration survey, Gavin put that in the group me, and then Kurt sent out an email, so if you guys could all take that, and then like try to get your friends to do it. It's kind of annoying, but it'll be really helpful to have that. And then also the staplers have been ordered, so they should be here by the end of the week. Staple list, yes.
Thanks, Abby. EAC.
Would you say EAC?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. EAC didn't meet this week, but we're scheduling a meeting with the mayor for this week, and we're probably also going to do some sort of holiday themed event like what we did last year, writing thank you notes for Colgate stuff. So,
wait, quick question. What do you know what you're going to talk about with the mayor?
Well, so the last time we met with her, we were scheduling that concert, and that was the main thing that we had to talk about. But then at the end of the meeting, she had a lot she wanted to say about like off-campus housing and stuff, and just like honestly, just generally like drinking culture in general. So I kind of want to sit down and talk to her about that and just hear what she has to say, because we don't have a lot to say to her right now.
Is there?
Oh, it's okay.
I just want a follow-up question. Is there any way you can like add notes on that meeting? I'd be
Yeah,
interested to hear what she has to say.
the meetings are always in our minutes. Yeah.
Would you have an idea, like what her opinions are on off-campus housing and drinking culture?
So when we met with her, it was like right in the middle of September. So a lot of people were having like outdoor events at off-campus houses, and she was not a fan of that. And we didn't really go into the specifics of that because like we had more exigent issues with the concert. But like I just want to hear what she has to say about it.
So, this is not the same mayor that was also a professor.
Nope.
Yeah, that's
You're planning to meet with her before
Hopefully.
Okay,
I'm
if
hoping.
possible, maybe you can prepare some brief report of how that goes.
Sure.
Great, thanks, Ron. GAC?
So this week's meeting was oriented around the newsletter and the logistics around it. As you guys saw, Kurt sent out an email with the newsletter. We're looking to make that a more regular thing because last year it wasn't done as much. And we also discussed what we're going to do for next semester too.
Thanks.
So SAC agenda item for tonight, we have Senator Wexman presenting on training Brenda Tracy campus, possibly getting SGA some funding for that. So we're really excited about that. A couple other updates on like major existing projects. So for Project Callisto, we're working on getting Lynn Rudd in touch with her counterpart at other New York schools that have adopted Project Callisto, just so she can kind of figure out how they worked around issues between Project Callisto and the Enough is Enough law. And then also for the printers in Brown and Colgrove, we're still waiting on some people from Reslake to hear what they have to say about that. But one thing we're thinking about doing is maybe resolving the issue about the monitors of printers by getting some CLs to do it as part of their round.
Who did you say you were trying to bring?
Brenda Tracy. So you'll hear more about her.
All right, thank you. Do you want to add anything, David?
Yeah. So today,
Just come. Sorry.
SOC just vetted BAC candidates for like 3 hours right now. And we have a working list. There are a couple more applications that we need to look through. So we're going to do that after.
Thanks, David. All right, Madison and Will, I think, prepared something special for this occasion.
There you go.
I'm just giving announcements for the week. So this Thursday from 8 to 10 is the freshman and sophomore formal in the Hall of Presidents. I believe it's Willy Wonka candy themed. And also this Thursday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. is our second class senior sips at the Colgate Inn. So we're doing free spinach and artichoke dips, cheese boards, Toll House pie, and some curry type thing. So that'll be also really fun.
In junior class, stay tuned for a Rio Grande catered event.
Yeah, each of our classes is doing a different food themed study break during the finals week. Are there any questions for me? Yes.
Sorry, I have an unrelated question for Will. Would you be able to give us some sort of presentation or lowdown on the NESCAC conference?
Do you want one right now?
I thought he was about to do it.
Oh, sorry. Please go.
I thought it was Eli? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm hijacking this for about 30 seconds, about 2 minutes. Just want to give you a quick report. For those who helped out this weekend, either like if you hosted somebody, one of our visitors, or if you helped showed up for one of our discussions, thank you very much. Just want to give a quick rundown of what happened a couple weekends ago. So we had several of our peer institutions, several student body representatives from those schools come to Colgate. We had a great time. I have a lot of fun meeting people, so that was fun. So we discussed a variety of topics. We started out with government structure. I thought that was going to be a really quick talk, and then it turned into a 2-hour conversation about how different all of our student governments are. The one thing, can you go scroll down to the takeaway? Actually, you can see it.
So we have a really nice, I don't know if you've seen it, but we have a really nice infographic on our website about how our structure for SGA is. It's really pretty. Other schools were a little thrown off by how large we are as a body, and a lot of them were in like the most polite way possible questioned our efficiency as a student government for being so large. And I guess one of our jokes is everyone is in student government sometimes, it feels like. So I thought that would be an interesting conversation if GAC wants to have that, if parliamentarian wants to have that, about that, because I know that's been discussed in the past. Also, there were funding procedure questions, which I've already talked to Laurel about, so that was my note to myself, so I remember. There are also, we discussed issues of diplomacy, so relationship between student representatives and the student body, how that goes. Is our student government seen as effective, our student government seen as feckless, things like that. Relationship with the administration, relationship with our trustees, board, and different sectors of the alumni. Turns out pretty much across the board there is difficulty speaking with administration. However, I believe it's, I don't want to get this wrong, Bowdoin, the student body president, meets with the university president once a week, and they have regular conversations, and it's and also in Bowdoin student, they call it BSG, Bowdoin Student Government, all of their executive positions are paired with a mirrored position in the university administration. So whether or not those two people actually have a relationship with each other is kind of up to them individually, but that is kind of how it's structured. So back to our own structural conversation. So and then we had breakout sessions in small groups of about 5 or 6 people, trying to get 1 to 2 people from every school of different issues that have arisen on campus, specifically discussing issues of racial discrimination, racial profiling, racial biases on our campuses, and issues that have arisen out of, as we see, diversity issues. Because Colgate, as with all the issues that we face, especially towards the end of last year, and then of course all the different incidents in the past, Colgate's not the only liberal arts school that has those problems. So those issues were discussed in different ways, and then some schools, different issues are a little bit more pressing at the time. Not to say that like the issues aren't important, but some schools are like, right now there's a different thing you're dealing with, a different issue. So I know Bowdoin, their student government had a big deal last semester about the changes to immigration policy after the executive order and all that court battle and everything. That was their main kind of focus. Hamilton College was their big fight has been restrooms, which they discussed, as well as menstrual products, menstrual hygiene products. They emphasized the usage of the word menstrual hygiene instead of feminine hygiene because that's more inclusive people who don't conform to the gender binary, which was a really interesting take that I was completely like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Additionally, several student representatives, other schools have had a lot of issues with depression and stress on campus, which I think we can all understand. However, some of our peer institutions have had issues with students on campus taking their own lives, and how dealing with their student health resources, their counseling services, and making sure that those are adequately responding to those issues and talking to campus in the wake of those. So, can you scroll down a little bit? So a couple of cool things that I guess, I believe it's Bowdoin, they have No Hate November, which is kind of I don't know how I feel about that name, but the whole idea is that it's kind of this whole month dedicated where they kind of throw the student body into just a really uncomfortable position for about 4 weeks. They have to go they have to listen to speakers, that different panels with students, faculty members. They bring guest speakers at the end of the month. There's always a big, larger name keynote speaker. And this was a question I actually have for you guys that I meant to email you guys. This is my note to myself. So some of our peer institutions, their student governments, have pushed faculty members to have different trainings as well as coaches have the same trainings that we have. And I just don't know how we do that here. So if anyone knows, that would be great.
You mean like Haven trainings? Or
yeah, like Haven trainings are the different trainings that senators have to go through when we arrive. If other members of campus have to do that who aren't students. So kind of an idea that was discussed in the small group that I was in. So I talked about how we have had in the past like campus safety meet and greets that I know that Jenny did a lot of. You'll meet her if you haven't yet. So idea, especially after speaking with Hamilton College, was kind of doing that same idea, but with maybe guidance counselors. Because I feel like a lot of people don't know about guidance, and as much as many initiatives as we have had to push people to the guidance center, the counseling center if they need it, some people are still don't go. That's also in addition to the stigma against going, but having that kind of relationship. Did I talk about everything? Any brief questions? I know this was technically Madison's report.
What is the typical size of like student government?
So it still varies from school to school. Also kind of how they define like who's in student government and who's just kind of has a more important role on campus, depends. Hamilton's and Middlebury's are both under 30 people. They also don't have, most of those student governments don't have branches that we do, how we divide everything up, which I think probably contributes to our size. So in class, I know no other student government had class councils that were our size. So our class councils are currently president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 3 general reps. Everyone's like, are you kidding me? Also the 10 allow schools also don't differentiate between senators and then those class councils. So the class will have maybe like 7 representatives, and that would be class president, vice president, secretary, and then like 4 reps, and that would be all the representation for the class, whereas we've divided it up into 2. So yeah. I can get those structures for you if you want. I have them. So. Just everyone just turns weird. Actually, Colby just drew it on the whiteboard, so that's lost forever. Who knows?
Any other questions for Will?
Do you think there's like a push to like structurally change the way we do SGA? Like, is there something that's like you would say is like a really big flaw of like the way our SGA is structured?
Personally?
Yeah.
I would say personally, I do think our student government is too big. Not to say that I don't like everyone's student government. It's not like a personal thing against anyone. But I think especially, I feel that we could accomplish probably the same, if not more, if we had a smaller student government that was more focused on actually doing stuff instead of having all the meetings that we have where nothing really gets done. I would start A with Senate and then B with class councils, maybe both at the same time. So cutting down representatives from each class, and then cutting down the amount of people in the class councils.
Was there like a noticeable disparity between Colgate and SGA in terms of like getting stuff done and like decision making as compared to like schools that do have like smaller SGAs? Did you notice?
How do you mean? So do you mean like in terms of like accomplishing things, showing stuff to the student body,
it's
or
hard
like?
It's like to measure change or like
Right.
tangible things, but everything, I guess. That's a hard question.
What I noticed was it was a lot easier to get things done with a smaller government. So it was, kind of 2 or 3 people being like, let's do this, okay, we're doing it.
Okay.
Which is not to say that we shouldn't have kind of this debate that we have all the time, but I think it makes it slower, and also that size contributes to speed. So in terms of making decisions, getting things done in a smaller student government, what I noticed, small student governments, they were able to do that faster. The decision-making process, the decision-making time is dramatically shorter than ours is. Additionally, their executive boards are very small, so it's usually 3, 4 people, just like, we're gonna do this.
So do they have the same committee structures as we do? Also, how often do they meet and in what kind of space?
Yeah, so actually the funny thing is about everyone meets once a week, what I noticed, which makes sense, I think. So they don't have the committee structure. Again, they were kind of caught off guard that we stratify or cement all these different committees. And then I mentioned governance boards, and then that threw everything out the window. Because a lot of our student governments don't have our governance board structure that we have, where we have students sitting on those different boards. And how they're technically part of student government. There was a second part to your question, was there?
Just like the meetings.
Oh yeah, and so the spaces. So Hamilton, they also, Hamilton College, they meet in kind of, I'm trying to think of a room that makes sense. Have you been in any of these classrooms, like on these floors? They're kind of spaces like that, where there's like a U-shaped table, and they call themselves their student assembly, and they're about 20 or so people, and they kind of sit around these desks, and they talk. the Bowdoin Student Government, they meet. If you went to the NESCO conference last semester, you were actually in the room where they meet. They sit in these really nice wooden chairs in a circle and sing Kumbaya. No, that's when they make decisions. The chairs are really nice.
So I've also met like a lot of these other like student government members. I remember I met them last year at the conference, and like I also went to one of the meetings this year. And I think that like the other schools that are in the NESCAC conference, especially like Middlebury or like Bowdoin, their campuses are a lot more homogenous like in like their beliefs than Colgate is, and we're a little bigger than some of these schools, and we also have like complete like I noticed like, and you notice right away when Colgate representatives are sitting with these other members, that like our way of doing school is just so much different than like in a lot of aspects of like what students care about. And, like, a lot of these schools, they don't have like D1 athletics, they don't have like large populations of Greek life, like large and like I think that affects a lot of decision making at our school. And the reason why they can have such quick decision making is because they know like what their students want. And at Colgate, I think like because we have a lot of students, we have a lot of different like varying opinions on this campus, like political opinions. Like I think that slower decision making like has students to like think more about like their decisions and like weigh the consequences. As if we had a smaller government like Middlebury or Bowdoin does, then quick decision making might not be like, I don't know. I just found that if we're going for efficacy or giving up, then like really quick opinions flip flop.
No, I completely agree with your point, and something that was actually mentioned is I think culture, the difference of cultures actually varies not only between Colgate and like SGAC schools, but also Colgate and all the other schools individually are very different from each other in many ways. In Hamilton's case, students read minutes from their student assembly meetings. Like students, faculty members, all this stuff, they like weigh in on minutes, which I just can't imagine happening here in my time left on campus. And I think at Hamilton, that's what they do. And it's just something that I don't know if we can ever change ourselves to reflect that, or even if we should try to do so. Cool. Sorry for doing. Oh, Marie.
Sorry. Is there anything like you're super excited about that you heard about that you want to like?
Ooh, super excited about. That's a really good question. Something that was discussed. Thank you. So personally, just because I like rules, and after being on the GAC for 2 years, I do like rules a lot. Was kind of restructuring, seeing if we should restructure our government to be a way that's a little bit more efficient, if we can do so. Also, I think we've all, if you've ever tried to read the bylaws, the Constitution is still confusing, even though we've rewritten it. We rewrote it last year, we rewrote it years before that. It still is confusing. How class council works into it is still, who knows, basically. And then additionally, I think the way that the diversity coordinator position, it has different names depending on different schools. They all call it something else. I think was a really interesting position, which I also think needs to come into this restructuring of our government. Make sure that there is someone specifically appointed to those. Because I know within our student government we do have that kind of position. The name, who it is this year is blanking on me. Nataki's Secretary of Campus Affairs, right? So were those two positions combined?
We don't have yeah, I would say we don't.
So. As well as pushing on the administration. So if NESGov, which Luke will talk about, because that's his thing. There's like if you've read that report, there's a nice chart of like our administration and the turnover that's occurred the past few years, past decade or so. And there was a vice president of diversity or diversity affairs, I forget the term of it. And for a few years there was a person, that person left, and then it was never replaced. To the best of my knowledge, I think it's still empty. So putting pressure on the administration to have that position filled, I think is also something that student government can actually do. So.
All right.
Oh yeah, I'm taking.
Thank you, Will.
Sorry.
What I would say is I think if there's room on the agenda, it would be a great idea to have a conversation about our government structure and some of these ideas next meeting. If not, that's definitely something we should do in the coming semester. And hopefully, as you listen to these things and look at these, you yourselves are thinking of ideas that you can work towards. Something like a resolution calling on the administration to hire a VP for diversity could be a really cool and influential piece of legislation. So that's something to think about. Unfortunately, the semester is winding down, but good momentum going into next semester. Okay, so now we can move on to new business. David, do you want to come up? Do you have anything you want me to put on? Okay.
So, you all remember we passed the bill completely revamping the entire process of student organization, SGA recognition. And so basically the way that we are now designing it is that SOC comes up with a list of criteria for clubs that are approved by, so advising departments are like CLSI, Alana, the Cove, the chaplaincy. These organization or these advising departments advise all of the 200 clubs that we have on campus. So in the way that it usually worked, or the way that it works kind of at the beginning of the semester, is that once a club gets approved by an advising department, it would come in front of the SOC. SOC would judge the club, then the club would come in front of the Senate, and there they would get approved for SGA approved. Right now, we're just totally canceling out SOC's vetting of the clubs. So once an organization goes to the CLSI or Alana and gets approved by the advisory department, then if they fill out this list of criteria that we put together, they will be able to come in front of Senate. So we wanted to make this process easier for student organizations. So the 3 criteria things that we listed, which I'm going to also have SOC members in the audience explain, are as follows. So the first is a method to gauge student approval, and approval of the organization having access to funds. And we felt like the best way to do that would be a petition where you would need 50 signatures of people who felt like that club deserves funding. So the club doesn't even need to have 50 people who are interested in it. It's just 50 people who think that they should have access to funds.
Senators, off your phones, please.
So this would present a system where we're having more student involvement. Students are getting to know what clubs are out there, as well as students feel like their money's going to good purposes. The second one is a tangible list of activities that would need funding. So we're not asking them, to come up with the specific details of events they're trying to host, but let's say like a cooking club, they would need to have some type of list of certain cooking events they want to put on, or a different organization, some maybe speakers that they are interested in bringing. So we just want kind of a list of activities that they would need access to the BAC for, because we want them to have SGA approval because they need money. And finally, this is through the departments. So basically through the departments, we're talking to all the advising department heads, and we're just wanting a proof that they have tested all the avenues for getting access to funding. So through primarily departments. So say the business club wants to put on some speaker. We want to make sure that this club has already tried to get funding through the econ department before they come to Senate for their money. So this is just to prevent needless spending that can just be done through advising, or not advising departments, but academic departments like Colgate. And that would just be conversations between advisors and the clubs. So that wouldn't even include anything that we do. So this is the criteria we've put together so far. This is the criteria that they would need to accomplish before coming to the Senate for you guys to vote on. And after, there would be also another list of criteria that we will develop later on that's just going to cover trainings that they need to keep going on with in order to maintain the SGA. So if any people have questions, we have SOC members in the audience who also do this. So.
Questions for David?
Does this change the criteria for what derecognizes a club?
So derecognition also needs to be covered and also needs to be changed. but it's probably going to focus on trainings rather than these are the few things that they need to have in order to come in front of Senate. So.
Who are you looking to communicate with when you might decide what trainings you should require clubs to?
We're gonna work on that and come to you, but that's still like a thing that we have to redo the entire process.
Okay.
So, but it's we've been talking about it.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Senator response.
All right. So here is a revised version of the attendance bill that we talked about last meeting. If any of the principal sponsors want to join me, that would be great. If not, that's cool too. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at it. But I obviously put the edits in highlighting. I tried to do the best I could to take into consideration the conversations that we had last meeting. Obviously, it was pretty much split 50-50 on whether it should be a ban on just being a senator or a ban on SGA as an all-encompassing. I'm open to a caucus if we choose to discuss it further, but as you can see, I put serving as a senator in this bill. Once again, open to a caucus, open to changing it. Just noting that I put that in there. And I went ahead and put a specific criteria for committees because that was vague. So it's 2 unexcused absences, which would be not letting the committee chair know that you're not going to be there, or just 4 absences in general. If you're saying, oh, Eli, where did you get these arbitrary numbers? It's basically just these 2 things, except there's no proxies for committees. So it would be 2 unexcused absences or 4 absences in general, and that could include like, oh, I have the flu, I can't make it. So that kind of thing. So it's not arbitrary. I pulled the 2 and the 4 from that as a precedent. So those are the edits that I made. I believe that addresses or attempts to address the conversations that we had last meeting, but I will yield the floor to questions. Senator Seljan.
So is this section talking about if you don't go to your committee meetings, your speaking right or your voting rights shall be suspended? Because that's what it says in section.
Yes, that is what happens immediately, and then after that, if you exceed, you're voted off.
Okay.
Well, not voted off, you're removed.
Just for like purposes of clarification, can you like one more time go over like what is considered an excused absence and the difference between absences?
My understanding of bylaws is that an excused absence is when, as it pertains to Senate, is when you email Nicole before 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday saying I won't be able to attend Senate. We've obviously been very lax, and I'm sure there have been emails that Nicole gets after 4:30 p.m. Yes, and so, but that's per the bylaws. So anything that you don't get, like email the recording secretary and say I won't be able to make it, that is an unexcused absence. So as it pertains to committees, what I tried to write in writing here is if you don't notify the chair, that would not be that would be an unexcused absence. Does that clarify?
What is the procedure for excused absences? Like, is there a limit to that?
Well,
there's
this is, can you just scroll just a little bit?
Yes.
And down a little bit, sorry.
Yes.
That's perfect. This is kind of nitpicky, but is this friendly by the way?
Yeah, it's friendly, yeah.
Can we change it from where it says more absences than those allotted in article for whatever will result in expulsion from the Senate and like a 2-semester, like a 2-semester ban from running for Senate? I know it sounds weird, but like a year-long ban, this is crazy. But if somebody like let's say somebody gets banned from Senate like early on, and then a year goes by, and then they need to fill a position for Senate, you could technically run again for that Senate term. So I feel like two semesters from running is more viable.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that specifies. Oh, did you want to?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You might want to do it.
Yeah.
You can finish.
From running?
Yeah, like just participating in the Senate election.
2 semester long ban, 2 semester ban. Is that right?
Semester.
2 semester.
I think it's just 2 semesters.
Full, 2 full.
So
it's not like half. It's half the time.
I think.
Full semesters.
Complete and a 2 complete.
Semesters. Bang.
It's not great. It's not great.
I like that.
Maybe it doesn't work that.
Is it on there?
Yes.
So this might also be nitpicky, but then could they technically run for a different position in student government that's not a senator?
Yep.
That
was the big discussion last
That's
time.
the wording that I have in here. That's what I have right now. Questions or motions? So there's no more questions. Is it? Yeah, question.
Could you add participating to make it like a short list, participating, running, or being appointed as, because like if someone's banned like halfway through the semester,
There we go.
it doesn't say that you cannot
Participating, running, or being appointed.
Okay.
Motion for a 5-minute moderated caucus with 30-second speaking time.
Is that seconded? Okay, seconded. Are there any other motions? Yes.
Motion for a 2-minute caucus, 30-second speaking.
Okay, is that seconded? Okay, that's seconded. Are there any other motions? Yes.
3-minute on mod.
Is that seconded? Yes. Are there any other motions? Are there any questions? Okay, we will go from most disruptive to least disruptive, starting with the 5-minute moderated caucus.
Yeah, you can toss that out.
Well, we're going to vote on it. All in favor of Senator Mark's 5-minute, 30-second speaking time moderated caucus, raise your hand. Okay, the motion fails. All right, the next one is Senator Greco's motion.
That was mine.
Senator Valdez's motion. 3 minutes?
Mine was 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, then we're voting on the next one is the 3-minute unmoderated. Yeah. So Senator Seljo's 3-minute unmoderated caucus. All in favor? Motion passes. We are now entering a 3-minute unmoderated caucus. Yeah.
So I'd be in favor of voting for this regardless of whether or not this change is made. But I would personally be in favor of expanding it not just from Senate but to all of SGA. The reason I think is, if somebody's not coming to Senate, the reason is just because they want to be able to participate in another area of student government, then taking away their ability to come to Senate, I don't think is going to change that. But taking away their ability to go to anything in student government. So I think that's just something to keep in mind.
I agree with that.
I agree with you.
Didn't the bill look like that before though?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly, that was originally what the bill was, that was 13, and we fixed it. I think it makes, like, if you're not prioritizing Senate, then you should be punished for not prioritizing Senate, and then, like, within your other, like, positions, like, let them deal with that. I think it makes sense to just, like, Senate, and, like, can't be a senator. Like, I don't know, it just makes more sense that way to me.
Also, the response to that would be, if that was the case, that every SGA position got like treated equally, then every position would have like the same rules, but they don't. So like rules for like a GAC board are different than rules for the BAC, are different than rules for being in the exec board. That all those positions are vary, and their time commitments and also the way in which they function are just inherently different in their structure, and kind of have less to do with the person as an individual and more like the focus of those bodies.
I guess I can comment, but I think I kind of disagree with the fact that anyone in SGA is under this rule, because first, class council, I'm the only person that can speak in Senate, and even other class presidents or vice presidents can't speak here. So even if you're saying that like they could come to your meetings but not speak, or I can't even vote, doesn't really make sense. But then I don't think you should say that they're required to come if they can't vote or speak. Like I require them to come, but that's just a class council rule. That's not like a SGA rule. Because then also we each have 5 members, and would they come as well, even though it's like a lot. It's class council is very confusing.
I'm not really sure what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, like, wasn't he saying this rule should apply to everyone in student government?
He's saying that if you miss a certain amount of meetings, then you shouldn't be allowed to serve in any
so
SGA.
technically, I'm the chair of class council, so I come to all of your Senate meetings, but then all of the class presidents and vice presidents also come. So if they missed more than 3 or so meetings, well, I'm just confused, like, what would happen to them?
I see.
Yeah, I would say that like if we're gonna take that perspective and say like if you get kicked out of Senate, you get kicked out of everywhere, then I would say it's only fair that we mandate all CLC members, everyone in governance boards, that if they also miss however many criteria, then they also get kicked out, because I don't then want to elect a.
I'm sorry, sir.
You know what I mean?
Do I see any motions? Yes. Is that seconded? Do I see any other motions? Senator, do I see any other motions? Okay, all in favor of 2-minute unmoderated caucus? Okay, continue.
Yeah, I was just saying, like if I elect you as my class president because I think you can do the job well and I know you'll bring like great events to our class, and you're not showing up, then I don't want you being a senator or a GAC member or whatever it is, right? Like if we pull this to senators and we're saying that all positions should be created equally or whatever, if that's like the perspective that we're taking, then a senator shouldn't be higher up than like the CLC president or whatever, so like the class president, right? So like that person needs to be just as accountable as a senator is. And like I think that's only fair.
So are you thinking that we also potentially in a different bill define their?
I'm just saying that like we should treat, we already have structures to deal with like absences and stuff in like the respective bodies, and I'm saying that you should just stay as a senator. This is your position here. If you don't want to be here, you shouldn't be a senator. It should go for whatever the CLC's procedure is for their like VPs and their general reps and whatever it is, like those procedures we have, and like we should just keep in place. Because if we take this, if we just open it up to every position in SGA, then like we're running a slippery slope. We'll have to mandate that for all these positions in SGA.
If there are no more comments, the time, I mean, have we reached a consensus? Do people want to change? Do people like just Senate?
Just Senate. Maybe we should leave it as just Senate, because like, I think that was a good point.
Okay, are there any other comments? Otherwise the caucus will elapse. Okay, the caucus has elapsed. Do I see any motions? Yes. Motion to vote, is that seconded? Are there any other motions? Okay, all in favor of a motion to vote? Okay, we will now enter voting procedure in 1 second. All right. We're at 26 votes. 29, 30, 32, 34. Okay. We only have one absence, right?
Yeah.
Does everyone have their clicker?
There's several up here. Katie Moss.
She's out. We're at 35. All right. Okay, the bill passes 33 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. So, all right, thanks everyone for the feedback on that. It worked quite well. All right, now we'll move on to the comment-only bill.
So imagine this. Let me paint a picture for you. If I wanted to right now, I could write Mark Majority is the sole representative of the entire student body in the Constitution, and it would just be there. Everyone with access to our vital documents can make changes. So anyone who has access to the Constitution, bylaws, or rules and procedures can just go on and edit willy-nilly. That's 200 plus people can go on and edit our Constitution, our bylaws, and our rules and procedures. There's the senator or the webmaster from last year, the last semester, who transferred, still has access to all of these documents. That person can just edit whatever they want because they have no stake in this. This bill is solving a dumb problem, which is that everyone can edit our vital documents. And so all this bill is it's saying that only the parliamentarian, the speaker, the webmaster, just because it's on the web, president, and vice president can make changes to the Constitution, bylaws, rules, and procedures. So if there's any, like, this is friendly if you think, like, someone else should have access to it. These are just, like, 5 positions where I was like, yeah, these people make sense to have access. But, like, as a senator, like, I don't need to go in and edit willy-nilly. Like, I make a bill like this, and then somebody else can go in and edit it for me. But I shouldn't have the power to do that.
So I genuinely don't know the answer to this, like how it works on Google Docs. But you're right, you wrote this on your Google Doc. How wouldn't you still have access to it? Like, what do you do with that?
So, all right. So when you give someone access to a Google Doc, you get to decide if they can have full access, which means they can edit, they can make changes, whatever.
Right.
If they can comment on it, which is like you can on the side here, like you would highlight it and the comment would be right here, or they can only view it. They can't even comment on it. So all that I'm saying is when whoever gives out all the access to all of our documents, they just make it so it's only comment only for everyone in SGA besides these 5 people who I've identified here.
Well, no, but I mean, if like say you wrote a bill, like you yourself wrote this bill, you're still gonna have access to that. Like, are you okay with that?
No, I'm gonna have access. I don't care about.
You're the author of it.
Sorry, I didn't specify. This only pertains to the bylaws, the Constitution, and the rules and procedures. Those are 3 of the most vital documents in my eyes. If you think like there are other documents that other people don't need to be editing, that's fine. But like I just kind of thought it was ridiculous that like anyone could go in there and write whatever they want. Is that not ridiculous?
Well, it is absurd. You do have access to edit history, and things could be easily undone.
Which I do. Just FYI, I do that a lot.
Yeah, but like, so like there's a process.
I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think this has been a problem in the past. And I also think that it's so checkable via viewing the revision history that I don't know.
But like, I don't like just avoid that headache. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like avoid the headache. I mean, how often do you have to go in and look at the changes? And are there changes that have happened?
There are changes. Usually it's like someone accidentally does a space and then you can tell they freak out and delete it. So it's really funny like seeing all these freshmen do stuff, honestly, and I stalk them on Facebook.
Hey.
First years, sorry. But I don't know, I don't mind it. It's entertaining for me, but then again, I don't have a lot to do. Derek?
Most of them are unprotected. I'm pretty sure the Constitution is.
The Constitution, last time I checked, was.
It was, when I looked at it, I was literally writing it. Abby was there. And I was like, hey Abby, what's going on? How are you? Like,
I'm looking at this year's folder because.
I mean, isn't it just like one SGA? I just like went on my Google Drive, searched SGA, and there it was. I think it was this year, because Eli had made some comments on it about the attendance, using the comment function on Google Docs. So like that could be helpful, like people could comment on it and be like, oh, like, look, this is the section I was talking about. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, let's try to keep it. Are there questions about this? If not, we can always move into a caucus if that's what people prefer. If there's any more questions, yeah.
Shouldn't the GAC chair be able to make edits to the Constitution because they're tasked with maintaining it?
I'd be into that. I'm down. Let's do it.
Is the bill friendly?
The bill is definitely friendly. We're all friends here. But yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think about that. Good thought. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. I yield my time on the floor.
Thank you. Alrighty. Keyboard. Of the Can we just yeah, that seems fine to me. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. Motion.
Motion to vote.
Seconded. It is seconded. Are there any other motions? There are not. We will. All in favor of Senator Waxman's motion to vote? The motion passes. We will now enter voting procedure. $32, $33, $34. All right. It passes 33 in favor and 1 abstention. Awesome. Molly, you're gonna have to make that change there.
Yeah, I'm making a change.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Senator Waxman, please come on down.
Hi. Okay, so raise your hand if you know the name Brenda Tracy. Awesome. Okay, so Brenda Tracy came and spoke to the entire athletics department earlier this year about her experience with sexual violence in her early 20s. Yeah, and as a result, she goes to college campuses and several other institutions across America, speaking about her whole thing, which is set the expectation. So setting an expectation for all of us on how we can basically create a better society that doesn't allow rape culture to persist and allow things like that to continue to happen. It went over really well. I don't want to say all the athletes, but it really started to spark in the athletic community. People were there until 12 a.m. talking to her, asking her questions about what they can do. I don't know if we want to have AB can maybe speak later on how much of an impact she made and how it went over really well. So as a result, Hayden and Dee McLaughlin would love to bring her back to campus for the entire student body to be able to have the opportunity to see her and hope that sparks a dialogue about sexual violence on Colgate campus and what we can do to change the culture here. So the reason I'm talking to you right now is basically because I think it would be a really good idea to have SGA be involved as a co-sponsor of this event. Right now it's primarily being funded by Greek life organizations, and she is $20,000 total to come, which is a lot of money, and not including $400 hotel and $200 for transportation. So one of the things that SGA would need to do is help fund it, so keep that in mind, but also just get it out there. Sexual assault is a huge problem on Colgate campus. It's a huge problem in this world. As student government, I feel like this could be a really good response to hopefully starting a really positive conversation about Colgate's culture. Yeah.
Would that be this semester?
Okay, it would be next
semester.
semester.
Has money. We want to spend that money.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be next semester. The dates that we have booked for her right now, we're hoping, she will end up coming 2 days. So normally she does split sessions, so she speaks
she's a itinerary session for females and then an itinerary session for males. So they're on Wednesday, which is February 7th, there would just be one program that would most likely be co-ed, so anyone could show up to that. Students that are non-gender conforming could show up to that and feel comfortable in those spaces. And then Tuesday there would be 2, which is the 8th. So those would be 2 split sessions. And we're looking into right now having it in Love Auditorium for Thursday. Oh wait, it's not Tuesday, Thursday, and Bremer on Wednesday. So yeah. Yeah?
Would it be great? How much money would the SGA be giving?
Okay, so that's like the next thing. So far the 100% we're giving you this money from Greek Life has Phi Delta Theta is donating $3,000 and Phi Tau is donating $3,000. I spoke with the kind of committee, like basically run by through Haven, but the committee that's helping put this together, who recommended that I speak out to Dean McLaughlin to ask him for money, because he has a lot of this apparently. He doesn't want to donate. I basically asked Dean McLaughlin if he could split the cost with SGA. He doesn't want to do that because he thinks that the majority of the funding should come from Greek letter organizations, and then SGA can cover the costs through that. So based off how much we get from Greek letter organizations, it would be anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 that SGA would be funding. And then, like he basically said, like at the end of the day, she's going to get paid. The event's going to happen. If there's a gap between Greek Life not being able to fund the amount that he's really expecting them to fund, he would cover it.
I don't know if this could be a question for you, but maybe you guys as well. I think it's a great event, and I think we should like definitely go through with it. I know that Dean McLaughlin also didn't want to fund like the menstrual products in the bathroom. Like he didn't want to take that out of the dean of the college. And I know when I spoke to him about the New York Times, he didn't want to pay for that at all. Do you guys like know what his like big objection to using the dean of the college money for? Like,
I think that he really thinks his whole thing is like, if you're going to change the culture, it's going to be changed by the student body for the student body, and deans and administrators can't change that culture. And part of his reason in wanting Greek Life to be the major funding people is he feels like symbolically, if every Greek letter organization on this campus donates or pledges to donate $1,000, it's like a first step of saying this is what we're doing to stop sexual assault, and we want to be a part of not the problem anymore, but solving the problem. Not that all Greek Life are necessarily part of the problem. It's much bigger than that. So if that like makes sense, he just sees it as like symbolically like students doing stuff for students versus administrators doing it. Which is annoying. Yeah.
Is there any way that you could show co-sponsorship rather than like through money if they would like pledge to have a certain number, like percentage of the chapter there? So like that's one reason you could justify for Dean McLaughlin like to give you funding. It's like, oh, X amount of people are gonna come.
Yeah, so right now we have, they're on the committee, there's 2 members that are part of male Greek letter organizations and 1 member that's part of a sorority. So they've both said that most likely within their individual fraternities and sororities, they're going to make it mandatory, and they're going to try to do that for the rest of them. It's a hard place too, because like how do you make an event mandatory that could be incredibly triggering to individuals? So it's about stressing it versus making it like the wording of that and making sure that everyone there is comfortable being there. But that's not really what he's like concerned with. Also, there's gonna most likely be, we're gonna try to get different organizations throughout CLSI, like the Network, Women's Studies, One Love, to help promote this event. It's just not necessarily the funding of the event that could be through them.
Yeah, if I could just chime in. So obviously we can't control what Greek organizations or the dean of the college contributes to this. So basically the reason we're having this conversation today is to have like a informal vote of whether the Senate would be in favor of putting anywhere $5,000 to $8,000 towards this event. I'll give a little bit of background on the budget, and then maybe Derek or Drew can hop in on this. But basically, SGA has about $20,000 budget per semester. If we spend $5,000 to $8,000, you can all do the math. That is a sizable amount of money. So that's one thing to consider. Some other things that we usually spend on are, we're definitely probably going to end up doing another tailgate. That cost us around $5,000 this semester. We, per the bylaws, are supposed to fund $5,000 to women or non-binary sports events. So those are a couple things. And New York Times is also $5,000, which we've yet to do. That's not to say that we should not fund this event. That's just me giving you background numbers. And yeah, feel free to, I think Derek might have more information, so feel free to ask questions about that. But the end game of this conversation is to just have like a vote. Would you be in favor of SGA committing to spending this amount of money on the event? So that's what we're here to discuss. Did you want to add anything there?
Not right now.
Okay, are there questions?
Yes, so say we don't have the money like within our budget, is it possible for SGA to apply for like BAC funding?
Now in Senate, you technically can like apply for BAC funding because it's like our money. It's like Senate's money as well. So like I would really suggest applying to BAC because like $5,000 to $8,000 like in BAC terms like is a very manageable amount of money. Like you could get out of it.
Can I just say, I'm in support of putting the money towards this. I think it's a good thing. So I'm just saying this just to have like just so we understand. Everything seems like a great event, and we do somewhat have the money for it because the Senate can take money from the BAC, but just for future, not necessarily regarding this, because I do think we should help with this, but everything is a good event, and we are taking money from the student activities fees when we do it, and it is a lot of power that we have to do that. So just keep that in mind now as we introduce this idea of Senate taking money from the BAC.
Just to echo what he's saying is that we have a budget of $20,000, and it's been precedent to try not to exceed that. While we could, of course, go to the BAC and take as much money as we want, we try, when I say we, I mean SGA, we try to restrict ourselves to that number so that other groups on campus can access the student activity fee. But yes, we can exceed the 20,000. It's not a hard cap.
Could we use some BAC funding and some just like SGA built into the 20,000? Do you have to use it? Do you take it from both?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's all technically the same.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's all technically the same money. It's just the question of, yeah, I mean, yeah, if we put $8,000, it's coming from the BAC regardless. The question is, will that then exceed?
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say, we are basically at the end of our budget due to the fact that we have that tailgate. We have to, we're running into issues with paying for women's tailgating events because also Dean McLaughlin has decided that he's not going to redo the New York Times. We used to get the New York Times online subscription for cheap because the Dean of College had agreed with them that they were going to have a deal that they would buy a certain number of print subscriptions, so then we got like a lesser amount to pay for the online subscriptions. Dean McLaughlin is not doing that, so now we're figuring out payment for the Times prescriptions and women's tailgating events, and we're already close to the end of our budget, Drew, I think, right?
That's
because of a couple of things like the tailgate, which we weren't really expecting. And
that's for the fall, right?
Well, yeah, but we get the budget for the.
No, you should apply for the semester. Yeah. Part of what you should do now is think about what you want to apply, what you want to do next semester.
Yeah. Right, that's, yeah.
Also too, like if you're in a Greek letter organization, like talk to your alumni, get them to donate money, like buy half that up. Yeah.
I just want to say that the New York Times thing, it was because we paid $10,000 in print copies. Last year we got New York Times for $2,000 additionally just for the digital subscription. Now if we don't want to do that yearly, it's $9,000. But the guy at the New York Times told me that he would give us a discount because it's only going to be like a semester or so. With that being said, I think that issue involves a lot more of the campus because I know like a lot of this, like it's like a wide-ranging thing. New York Times like a whole campus thing that I think that might be more beneficial to go to the BAC for rather than this event. I think this is an event that SGA like ourselves can just like run with and then have the New York Times because it affects more people and because more people pay into that student activity fee that use New York Times than
That would be more
Just to
appropriate.
clarify, the New York Times piece is about 4,000 for the rest of the year. The print subscription is not going away until next year, next academic year, at which point the online subscription would jump to about $9,000 for next academic year, not this academic year.
Right.
The $4,000 cost is what it would cost for online subscription for the rest of this year. And that cost was previously, the reason it was $2,000 last year was the Dean of the College covered half of the cost.
Yes.
So they also covered $2,500 of the cost there. That is not an option this year, so it'll be up to SGA to fund the full cost if they want, if that comes back.
Nice.
Class council would definitely also donate from our budget, so we could request money. We're all requesting right now money for next semester with big events we're having, so we could request extra for you guys.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. How
That's
about-
great.
I'll
Like
talk to you later.
Yeah. This is another, well, I don't know, this might be for Eli, but, or Derek, like, so we're just talking about this semester and how we're like low, but does that not?
Yeah, it's my understanding that we have a clean slate for the spring.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what we're here to talk about is some of our priorities for budget for the spring. And like I said, or was trying to allude to at least, I'm gonna ask for a hand vote of if we are in favor of committing to $5,000 to $8,000 for the spring semester for this event. So yeah, this is supposed to be an open discussion. So if there's any more questions for Senator Waxman, or if people want to just chime in about it, and then whenever everyone has said their piece, we can do that vote.
Did you talk to all of the fraternities and the other?
I'm not in charge of that right now. All of the other fraternities and sororities have been emailed, and have offered to give an amount that isn't sufficient to what Dean McLaughlin would like to ask for. However, that is not because they're like, screw this, we don't want to give it. I think they have a misunderstanding of what is expected. Yeah.
Hi, so I just want to make sure we're staying on track. So really the idea is, I mean, we do have the money to do this. The question is, do we want to take $10,000 out of the BAC, the student allocation budget to do it? I personally think we should. We have the money to do it. My little statement before was just like precautionary because I think a lot of people realize that we have the ability to do that, but it's not connected to like if we should or shouldn't. So like that's what we should be talking about. We have the money to do it. Do we want to use $10,000 out of the student allocations committee to do this? Do we see value in it? That's up to you all. I think yes.
Also, do we want to like promote this for the student body and like get people to go and get freshmen that maybe aren't as connected to knowing about this event to go and then starting a conversation?
Yeah, we definitely need to do this. I went to the talk when she came, since I'm an athlete, like all the athletes have to go, and it's like one of the most like moving things that you could possibly listen to. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's so amazing. So this needs, I feel like this campus needs this. Even if we didn't have the money to do it, we should be like setting up lemonade stands in the quad, selling lemonade to try to get the money to do it, because this needs to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, and my thing is too is like a lot of conversations and dialogues that happened about this last year weren't accessible to the entire student body, and those were really impactful. So like this is something that we can make accessible to the entire student body if they want it. Hopefully they want it. Yeah.
I'm gonna look at the way. Does that like does that not like number that we're giving in, does that like include advertising and stuff?
Yeah, so that includes like a $50 advertising fee if we want posters printed, which I have to like discuss with Haven on how they feel about like putting an event like this on posters everywhere in terms of like triggering subscribers. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also just add, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd also just add, I mean, like we talk all the time about getting SGA involved more, sort of like in students' lives and like getting us involved in like issues on campus that are really pertinent. And I think something like this is huge in that regard. Like especially having SGA sponsoring it, like directly like involved in that way, I think it's huge for SGA and it's huge for this campus.
I also think that after we can like hopefully maybe work with Haven and Women's Studies to like sponsor conversations about this. I know for fraternities and sororities, they have like an organizational way where after this they will be having conversations, but like affiliated students don't have that network, so hopefully SGA can be the network. Yeah.
What's the money breakdown? I'm kind of confused now because I feel like
Okay, so it's $20,000 including her flight.
So that's total, like what it costs?
For all the events.
Yeah.
It's $400 for her to stay at the Wenton, and it's $200 for her to have transportation.
So it's 20,000 plus the other.
Yeah.
Okay. And what has been paid already? What has been donated already?
6,000.
6,000 total.
Yeah.
And you're still waiting to hear from the other organizations.
Yeah.
So what do you think we could get from the other organizations? Like the
Dean?
same, like to match it?
No, I don't think we're gonna end up getting that from the other organizations. The reason we've gotten so much from those two organizations is because members of those organizations are on the leadership of those like, do you know what I mean? Like Alex Mahady, president, like McNeary, vice president Fidel. That's why they're probably donating so much. I'm hoping we can get $1,000 from each individual Greek letter organization, and then the IFC budget, which is $1,000, will be donated, and the Panhell budget, which is either $500 to $1,000, they haven't figured out how much it actually is yet, will be donated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like most we would spend is about 10,000. Least we would spend is anywhere from 5,000.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes it confusing, is like, D. McLaughlin doesn't think we should spend $10,000 because he doesn't think we should have to, but
Yeah, the hope would be that we would.
yeah, the hope is that we don't have to.
So we have 9,000 right now. Three for those three Greek letter organizations.
Yeah.
So
No, just two organizations, and then IFC, which is another right now we have 7,000.
7,000. So from those two and then IFC.
Yeah, I can like get in the breakdown later of budget
Yeah.
if you want to know specifics.
Yeah.
But
So how much do we still have in SGA right now?
It's gonna be a new semester.
It's not about SGA. We're not going to use SGA budget. We are going to request it from the student allocations committee because we have the authority to do that. So it's not really coming. What? Is there any confusion there? Senate asked money from the student allocations budget. We don't really have any more of the budget, student government itself, but it doesn't matter. Like BAC is our budget, or not BAC. The student activities fee is our budget. So.
BAC is a branch of SGA, so technically SGA's budget is the entire student activity fee. You choose to give BAC the authority of that, so SGA actually has authority over BAC. So you can take money out of the student activity fee before it even goes to BAC. So what we're talking about here is that you're essentially the impact on the student activity fee is could be removing $10,000 from that pool. So that's where I think hopefully that clears up some of the confusion. That this doesn't mean you need to go to BAC and ask for money. It simply means the decision is, should you be looking to take $10,000 out of the student activity fee for this event?
So what I was trying to say earlier is technically the SGA hovers around a $20,000 budget, but we have access to all of the money. So I mean, it's our budget, but we could really have an infinite budget. Well, not an infinite, but however much is in the BAC. All right. So just to make this, yeah. If there's another question, yeah.
That's not a question. I was going to talk about like this is supposed to be a discussion about like if we should do it or not.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to worry about the money. Like it's there.
Yeah.
That's what Drew and Eric and Eli are trying to say is that like the money's there, and like what happened last semester on campus, like we need this, and like what happened with SGA last semester on campus, SGA needs to do this. Like I don't like. From my point of view, this is like a no-brainer. Like we should be doing this 100%, and if we don't, I feel like we're not providing for our constituents, and we're not like building up our campus community. So I'm for it for sure.
I think if there's no more like really pressing comments, we can move to a vote. Was there anything you really wanted to say?
Well, just like as a follow-up, like yeah, worst case scenario, best case scenario in terms of budget, it shouldn't matter. Like this should be a priority in my opinion. Like it sounds absolutely amazing. It's something that SGA should be involved with, and like yeah, he's 100% right. After last year, like this is something that should be done for both the student body and for ourselves.
Worst case scenario, I'll make a lemonade stand. You guys can all come by. I'll donate all the money. So we'll be fine. We're good. Let's go.
Derek, did you want to add one last thing, and then we're going to move on to the vote?
Yeah, so I know that somebody said this is informal. Technically, this is a formal vote because like this is the body that has the power to do it.
That's my mistake.
No, it's not your. I mean,
that's fine.
I would suggest giving because we have it in the budget, I would suggest us voting on up to $12,000. Doesn't mean we're going to use it, but just in case anything terrible does happen, I think you said that there's only 7. That's a lot to fall back on, and we do have it, and I think it would be the smartest option. So, what do we? I don't know.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna have a formal vote of allocating up to $12,000 from.
Oh,
yeah,
motion.
I'm just
Motion.
stating the parameters of what we're voting on.
Real quick, is there any reason this needs to be done right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. It's fine. Let's vote.
Any final questions?
Yeah, Senator,
Yeah.
Will you be following up with a more hard, concrete budget after things have been figured out with the other organizations?
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to them a little bit more tonight. That should be done soon. Basically after this vote happens, there's gonna be a meeting tomorrow, and if it passes, I basically say whether or not, they're waiting on SGA's go too. So once that happens, the ball will roll.
Okay. Voted. Yeah, assuming we enter voting procedure, I'll ask in a second. It's going to be upwards of $12,000 from the student activity fee, which you could call that the SGA budget or not.
You mean downwards?
Downwards, yeah. A maximum.
At worst. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
What? All right. Do I see any motions?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Motion to vote.
Is that seconded?
It's my first motion, guys.
All in favor of AB's motion to vote? Great. Sorry, Senator. All right, we're now entering voting procedure. A is for you want it, and B is for you don't want it. I'm at 33 right now.
I symbolically vote for it.
No, not allowed.
You can't speak.
33. Anyone else want to vote? If you're abstaining, you can hit C. If that wasn't clear. 33. Okay. I'm not going to project it right now. It's 32 in favor and 1 abstention. Passes. Okay. Last item under new business is the GAC newsletter discussion. I'm going to leave the projector off just because I feel like for the discussions it's beneficial. So, did you want to lead that? Did you want to come down and say anything?
I cede my time to Ben.
Okay,
Senator
Ben.
Ben.
No, yeah, great. Senator
What's up, everyone? So, just to give you a little background on this, so Kurt recently sent out the whole SGA newsletter, the first one of the semester. And so what the GAC is mainly looking at is how we can actually define what we want to see out of the newsletter, define what we want to get out of the newsletter. And so Tolu and I were taking a look at the Constitution and at how we currently define the newsletter, and we found a couple issues. So currently the SGA Constitution says that the Director of Communications is supposed to submit the SGA newsletter to the student body on the Sunday before the end of the month, before the end of each month. And we found that to be kind of unreasonable because Sunday falls on different dates each month. And so it's not really a defined time, and also since they're submitting it before the end of the month, then they're not necessarily covering everything that we do during that month. We also saw that the Constitution has very vague phrasing for what should actually be included in this newsletter, what should actually be the content of the newsletter. And so I had a meeting with Kurt the Sunday, or not the Sunday, the Thursday before break. And we kind of talked about what he wants to see about the newsletter going on, what he thinks the content should be, what he thinks the publishing timeline should be. So he agreed that the publication timeline that's outlined in the Constitution, the Sunday before the end of the month, was kind of unreasonable, and he kind of thought that it should rather be published within 10 days after the end of each month, so that he can cover all of the things that we do throughout the month, so that he can thoroughly cover that month. He also put forward the idea that the newsletter should contain reports like given by the committee chairs, like by the cabinet members, by the CLC, like etc. And he had this idea that he would get at least like somewhere around 3 highlights from like each committee meeting, so that you can like report, okay, this is what these are like 3 things that the GAC is doing. These are 3 things that the SOC is doing. So, this is where I refer to you guys, because before we actually like finalize this bill, before we actually finalize like what we want to see out of the newsletter, we were mainly looking for what you all wanted to see out of this newsletter, like what you all have for like input about how we can make this newsletter as transparent and as close to the students as possible. Because if you haven't noticed, there's kind of been a theme within this semester about transparency, about bridging the gap between the SGA and the student body. And that's what we can really accomplish through this newsletter. And furthermore, we want to see future directors of communications doing the same thing, publishing the same newsletters that have the same information that the students need to know about, that the students need to see that we're doing. So mainly we're just looking for any input that you all have on how we can make the newsletter great for everyone.
I don't know if Kurt is open to this. I don't know if we need a newsletter every month. I would be more in favor of just having like a semester-wide newsletter that the SGA sends out and gives out during State of the Union. That we print hard copies of that. Just because I know that committees have long projects that they're working on that take like sometimes like a month or 2, and then just having like a compiled list of all that might be more.
Don't we already have,
Yeah.
didn't Brian Stone?
I think it used to be the semester report that they would publish the night of the city association. So I remember getting copies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That's nice. Yeah.
I'm going to speak on this. I don't think it should be just one a semester. I also don't think it should necessarily be every month too, given that same concern. I feel like if it's the end of the semester, the students just kind of don't know what's happening with SGA all semester long, and at the end, with an event that most of them don't go to, they would have this pamphlet that's handed out that says, "Oh, what we did." That just doesn't get our name out there the way it needs to be.
Yeah, like basically the main problem we're seeing right now is that students have no clue what we do. And so by like publishing a newsletter like once a month, what we're doing is we're giving the students like updates on actually what we're doing so that they actually know that we're trying to help the student body in general.
Just letting everyone know I'm going to put on the display because I'm going to project the newsletter. I just got it, but it's going to be noise, so I'm just letting people know. Has everyone seen the newsletter? Raise your hand if you've looked at the newsletter. It's pretty good. Well, I forwarded it to my mom, and she was like, "Oh, this is awesome." So yeah, I mean, I like a monthly newsletter. I think that even if it's just a 1-pager, really succinct, talking about what each committee has worked on, just in like 2 bullet points each, I think that is certainly something that the Director of Communications could definitely take out.
And it's really not that much of can I talk?
Yeah,
Is that
please.
okay?
Yeah.
It's
This
really
is
not
all
that
very
much of an issue. Before there wasn't any sort of guideline whatsoever. So for the most part, I just made all this, got quotes from different people, reached out to as many people as I could, and Kyle designed the outline and all that. So now that we have like a guideline to work off of, it shouldn't be hard to, update one every month and send it out. I don't think people are going to get sick of it, and we can see through the website or our traffic to our website that people actually did read it, particularly the academic resources. Like we've actually gotten like hundreds of hits of people going to check that out. So we've sent out one so far, and it's worked. I think we should continue doing it. And now that if we can set in stone some sort of guidelines of people, being required to actually reach back out to me, which not a lot of people did, then it'll become even easier. Yeah. Are these questions like for me?
Yeah. So you as the Director of Communications hasn't found it to be a problem
No, I mean, it was hard to start this one just because I had never seen one before. I didn't know what direction to take it, but after talking with a bunch of people, meeting with the administration for Colgate's communications department, we decided on just a 4-page succinct. We keep the front and the back page relatively similar, advertising the student government as a whole, and then having reports on the inside. We decided on right now just doing it through email and posting it on Instagram, whatever. But we think it would be too much to print it. Just the cost wouldn't add up to the amount of people that would read it that already got an email about it. But no, not really much. Any other questions?
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I mean, if people have feedback, ideas for the newsletter, ideas for like a bill specifying what should be in the newsletter, when it should come out, I think that's what GAC is hoping for. So yeah, open discussion. Feel free to give feedback. We can talk about it for a few minutes and then we can move on.
Could we refer this to committee?
Well,
and just have like
This is just
yeah.
I think the idea was they wanted to hear from senators.
Yeah.
If there's no senators' opinions on this, then what?
Why don't we just do this every month? This is really good.
Yeah.
We have to define it. Like, we actually have to set forth, this is what the newsletter should look like, this is what. Because already in the Constitution, we define a vague newsletter that's published the Sunday before the end of every month.
Okay.
But we're trying to actually define what.
I would be open to just, this looks really good and I like how this is set up. I would just be open to Kurt just writing down what he put in here and just putting that.
I agree.
That's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
This is great, yeah.
Yeah, just actually address what's going on with the council.
Thank you.
Yeah, it hits everything. It hits one.
Yeah, I mean, any other feedbacks, things that people would like to see, not necessarily criticisms, but things that people think should be added. Hello, Derek.
I think possibly an update, more about the BAC is necessary. Just with our timeline, it ended up not working out well to get a full report in there, and also space-wise, it's difficult. But if we could at least update students on how their money is being spent, that's an easy part of student government is
I haven't scrolled through this whole thing, but I think that if we have any upcoming events, so maybe the CLC events or PAC we hosted at concert, just those dates in this newsletter so students can get more involved, and just the location and time of all of our Senate meetings, and if they want to do committee meetings as well, just to get students more involved and make it more transparent on what we're actually doing.
That's awesome.
That's great. Any other suggestions, ideas, input?
All right, well, if you have any other ideas, reach out to GAC, Ben. But yeah, hopefully that was productive. And yes, great job, Kurt. It's beautiful. Okay, I've just received a request from Derek to request that we vote on one more new business item. It's going to be a vote on funding the New York Times. Per the bylaws, this will require a 2/3 vote. Derek says it'll be brief. So we're going to vote now. Do I have to motion that, or do we just vote?
There needs to be a motion.
Okay, so the chair is in favor of a motion to vote to add that to new business. Is that seconded? Okay, thank you. All in favor? All right, we will now vote. It takes 2/3 vote, so I guess we'll just do hands. All in favor of adding it to the agenda?
If we're adding.
Did you ask for other motions?
Oh, we're just voting
Are,
to add it, whatever.
are there any other motions?
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
No.
Okay.
We're now
All in favor of putting it on the agenda? It passes. Great. Go ahead.
Okay. So New York Times, gentleman Drew kind of talked about it. There is some issue right now. We'd like to pay for it for the remainder of the semester, which would be $4,500. We haven't decided what we're going to be pitching next year, but we want to get it online right now because a ton of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay.
Ton of people use the online subscription. So we're asking for $4,500, which we do have in the budget because, as Laurel was saying, there was a mix-up with the budget and we have the money for it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Did you have a question?
This might be down the line.
Oh, yeah.
Is it at all because I've heard from students that they also want Wall Street Journal. Is that something that the school?
We're not talking about that
right
now. Are there any other questions?
This is a question about New York Times subscription in general. I know that we get the paper versions of them, and I'm just wondering, like, is it cheaper to just go paperless and just get them online? Because like that might be easier. I don't know.
So I mean, we can have this discussion at a later time. I don't want to keep people here because like the issue is not necessarily us. Well, there's not an issue. Dean McLaughlin wants to change, and it is a lot of money. We'll probably go paperless, but I don't know how that's going to work out. But this is, I do want to, just for timing's sake, we can have a bigger discussion. Keep it to the $4,500 that we're going to have for the rest of this year.
That's paperless?
Yeah. We already have the papers. I think they've already paid for the papers for the whole year. We did not pay for the online subscription for the whole year because that's just not how it works. So like now we need to pay for it because there's been a holdup. So.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Motion to vote.
Motion to vote. Is that seconded? Any other motions? All in favor of Senator Soldiers' motion to vote? We will now enter. All right. We'll just do it by hands. Okay. All in favor of funding New York Times? Fantastic. Our president, Donald J. Trump, once said that the New York Times is the crown jewel of journalism. Good in the order. You know, I think this is a great meeting. We got a lot of good conversations. Everyone's beautiful faces are here. I'm having a lot of fun. Did a lot of great stuff, I think. Get hyped for the last meeting. On a serious note, though, if you have bills, projects, things that you want on next meeting's agenda, it's the last meeting. You don't have to meet with your committee at your traditional time. If there's something you really want to work on, say, let's meet at this time. Like, I'm not trying to push things onto the agenda, but if there's something that you think is important and you want to get it done, this is your like final call. But I think we have really good momentum going into next semester, so keep up the great work. Announcement.
Parliamentarian elections again next meeting.
Sorry.
If you have any questions for me about what the position entails, please reach out to me. Also, State of the Association not this Thursday, next Thursday.
Any other announcements? Yes.
Yeah, this isn't related to SGA. Ronan Farrow is coming to campus. He is a huge reporter who fights for human rights, and he also was the lead investigative reporter who broke the Harvey Weinstein sexual assault scandals. That's Thursday, 6:30. I want to say in the auditorium, but you might have to look.
It's in love.
I just want to say thank you. Molly's done a great job as parliamentarian. She's done a great job.
All right. Any last announcements? The chair would be in favor of a motion to adjourn. Seconded. All in favor. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.